Konnichiwa! And welcome to the three-way showdown between the Nikon, Canon and Sigma 85mm telephoto prime lenses. Sigma's got a lot of press in the last couple of years with their art series lenses, but before all of that came along, this 85mm has been a workhorse. It's fantastic value compared to the Nikon and Canon. Today, let's put them head to head. The three specific lenses we're going to be comparing today are the top of the line 85mm from the three companies. So we've got the Sigma 85 1.4 DG HSM blah blah blah. It's built like a tank, great, we'll run through the specs. Next up is the Canon 85mm 1.2, the fastest and by far the most expensive in this test. And then the Nikon, lift it up, 85mm 1.4G, that's the latest edition of that. They do make a 1.8, which is even cheaper than this, but we're comparing the flagships. Let's take a look at the specs and how they stack up.
The Nikon 85 1.4G is a fantastic lens. I own this one. It's got 9 rounded aperture blades, 10 elements in 9 different groups. It's got a 77mm filter thread. It's mid-weight at 660 grams. There's a fair bit of plastic in the structure, to be honest, like a lot of the new G lenses. It's got a transmission value of 1.7. If you don't know what T-stops are, then check out the link that's on screen now and in the caption below. And this one comes in at around $1,600. The Sigma is a bit of a tank, to be honest. It's 65 grams heavier than the Nikon at 725 grams. It also stops down to f16. It's also a 77mm filter thread size, and it's got 11 elements in 8 groups, and it has 9 aperture blades as well. It's significantly cheaper, though, at under $900 compared to $1,600 for the Nikon. And it has a matching score of 1.7 T-stops. The Canon is the behemoth in this. It weighs in at over a kilogram, so another 300 grams heavier. It's big and it's heavy, and as a lot of people point out, it looks like a bloody black grapefruit. However, it's surprisingly simple inside. It's only got 8 elements in 7 groups. It only has 8 aperture blades compared to 9 on the others. It also stops down to f16. And its front filter thread is only 72mm compared to 77 on the others, but they have a lot of padding. This is all glass. It's also by far the most expensive at $2,200. This one's T value is a true 1.4, but its F number is a 1.2. Taking a look at them all side by side, you can see front on they look a similar size, but the actual body dimensions of the Canon is far bigger. And the front glass element, despite being a smaller filter thread, is far bigger. Come
on. Thank you. Look at that. Baller, huh? I don't know what we do now. We've got to do a review. This is the most comfortable outfit I've ever worn for a review. Nonetheless, this is rather lovely. So we'll get some test shots, 2.8 down to their minimum aperture, and let's see how it works out. Do you want to cop a squat there? I mean, dicky des what?
There's something about dressing up in silly costumes that's just fun, and Jade's cool to shoot with, so no doubt you'll see more of her in the future. There's a shot at f10 showing the full scene, and then down at f4, this is on the Canon lens. Jumping up to 2.8, softening nicely, definitely there's already great separation. There at f2, even more so, changing dappled lighting there, f1.4. And then 1.2. It may not look like a huge difference between 1.4 and 1.2, but it is subtly softened. Look at the waterfall, 2 lines of white in the background. Throw back to the f2.8 and you can really see a huge difference.
Yeah, you take me. So you come to right where I am and I'll go to right where you are. Look at the frame.
Well, this is all new for Jade, but lucky she's got a trained professional to keep things calm and under control.
Lost your balls, man.
1. I lost a ball.
Checking out the Nikon, even at f4, the background's nice and soft and there is a great contrast throughout the shot. Stepping it down to f2.8, still lovely. F2 really softening up the background now, and then wide open at f1.4. You can still, right in where it's sharp, it's still nice and sharp. Taking a look at the Sigma now at f4, and as we step through all of these, I think it looks great. It's hard with the background's a little bit different to the last one, but there's a definite difference between the Nikon to this one, given that they were both shot on the same camera and with the same settings, same processing, blah, 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 that this one, the contrast is not as fine.
Okay, so first test showing a little bit of bokeh there, all really nice results. And as you would expect, they do get sharper as we stop them down. We'll check that again in a second, but you shot with the Nikon first and next up the Sigma. Did you notice any difference in terms of their focusing speed?
No, not really. They're both really fast.
Okay. The Canon is not known for being the fastest, but you know, I use it for portraiture all the time. It is acceptably fast. Considering what you're shooting, you're not really going to be using that for sports, especially at f1.2. Now, you made sure you got all those shots actually in focus. That's stupid. No,
Yeah,
in the live video we did, your shots were out of focus, so I got to ask.
Fair enough.
You should respect your sensei, bro.
You're my sensei.
Well, you're not my sensei. You got a little plastic fan. What are you?
My head thing's bigger than yours, meaning I'm a higher
That means you're a
performance.
trophy wife. I'm in black.
Your sword doesn't even come out of the holder.
I could decapitate you with that much. Yeah.
Let's take a look at some more samples, looking specifically at the contrast and the separation we get. This is with the Nikon at f2, and there it is at f1.4. Now, you can see some differences there, but what I'm going to argue as we go through this is it's not as strong a difference as you would expect. Next up, let's look at the Sigma, and I'm aware that this may not come through once I've compressed the video, then YouTube recompresses it, but there at f2 and then there at f1.4, there is a loss of micro contrast there. The blacks aren't as black, and the fine contrast on her face, looking on my calibrated screens, you can really notice it. Then here with the Canon going from f2, look at that one, looking really nice, down to 1.2. There you really notice it. I mean, the background, it's diffuse and it's beautiful, but putting them side by side, there's just a very clear difference in the sharpness and the contrast there between f2 and wide open on the Canon.
All right, so Justin, my assistant, Jade and I have all shot with all three of the lenses so far, and it's unanimous the experience of shooting with them is not too different. There may be marginal speed differences in terms of focus, but in terms of how they feel in the hand, and generally they all focus acceptably well in good light. That said, it is a really hot, bright, sunny day. So hot that Jade already took her jeans off while some German tourist was taking photos of her from the bushes. So let's get out of these ridiculous outfits, not because they're not pretty and hot and swag and all of those words that I'm too old to use, whatever that was, but the park is closing, and we'll get some more shots in Chinatown tonight in low light and really see how these guys perform.
Let's take a look at some bokeh balls. Here we are with the Nikon at f2. You can see already nice and circular, nice and soft, and even with the bus right there behind her, it's still doing a good job of blurring it out. By 1.4, you can see there's a color cast come in there. That could have been, there was lots of different flashing lights around. She could have been captured by one of them, but really soft and diffuse. Here with the Sigma, again, bus in the background, nice and soft. Reasonably circular, almost as circular as the Nikon, and then the full blown out background. Something to keep in mind with some of those ones in the corner that are a funny shape. The shape of your bokeh is often not related to the lens. It's the shape of the light source and the angle at which it's hitting the lens. More central and direct lights are going to be more circular. Next up, here's the Canon at f2. Now, it's nice, but look at the shape of the out of focus circles. It only has 8 blades instead of 9 like the others, and that means that those are not quite as round. But here at 1.2, ooh, butter. Okay, enough drooling. Let's see them in video.
Okay, here we are on the Canon 85-1.2. You can see the lanterns and the lights in the background there as we open up our aperture. There we are, all the way down to 1.2. See the bushes in the side? Just melted away. Back up at 2.8. and down at 1.2. Crazy. Okay, here we are on the Sigma. That's a 2.2, dropping it down to 1.4. Pretty dreamy. I love those running lights down the side to the side of her head and looking at the greenery. There we are at 2.8, back down to 1.4. Hello! And here we are with the Nikon 2.8 to 1.4. Beautiful. Lights dancing. Let's check out that greenery. That's how it was, softening out. Eesh.
Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks since I actually filmed those review sections, and I've had time to reflect on my time shooting with each of the lenses and really look at the images in detail at 100%, calibrated monitors, all of that kind of thing. So disclaimer, I own the Nikon lens. I've shot tens and tens of thousands of frames with that one. The Canon I own as well, several thousand at least, and the Sigma I just had on loan for 2 days. Now the reason I mention that is so often reviews are based on a fleeting little use of something for a couple of hours, along with a spec sheet analysis, along with a research of what other people have done, and then opinions are formulated based on how they expect it may be used practically in the field rather than actually using it. So we spent a full day shooting with it. I shot with it in the studio and tested it out and did all kinds of things with it to make sure I really had a good comparison between these three. So let me run through each of the three. The Canon, biggest, heaviest, most expensive, fastest. It's a beautiful, beautiful lens, but it's way overpriced. When you put in the price value proposition onto each of these lenses, it really changes the ballpark. I would say the Canon is a couple of percent better than the others in terms of its overall image quality, so sharpness, vignetting, contrast, the out of focus areas, but it's a big percentage more expensive than them, which makes it hard to justify, except the Canon doesn't really have something to compete with the 1.4, so it's your option as their top of the line lens. Now the Nikon, I love it. Optically, I think it's just a couple of percent behind the Canon, but it's just beautiful. The coatings are great. The optical quality is great. Even at 1.4, it's great, but stop down just even to 1.8, it's so crisp and lovely. But I don't love the handling. It's plastic as hell. I don't like that about the new G series of lenses from Nikon. So that's a bit of a downside. And it's still, $1,600 or $1,700. It's by no means a cheap lens. It's just cheaper than the Canon one. Now the Sigma, I have to say, once you put price into the mix, it is absolutely the best value proposition of the three. No question. I think it's a few percent again behind the Nikon in terms of its overall optics, but it's so much cheaper, and I think the build quality is better than the Nikon. It's just really nice. Something to keep in mind, just throwing back, I didn't really mention build on the Canon. It is great, but it's focused by wire, so you're not actually moving the optics, you're sending a signal to the camera and then it's adjusting it. So it can feel a little bit funny if you're into doing manual focus or using it for video. You may like it, but some people won't like the feel of it. But back to the Sigma, it's a little bit, chunky of a lens, but it feels just great in the hand. I really enjoyed shooting with it. And when I say a few percent difference, that's the kind of difference that I really don't think makes a big difference. If you're a pixel peeper and a gear nerd like I am, then you may look at your shots 100% and see it. Comparing the three of them side by side at 100, sure, you can see a small difference if you look for it. But printed on the wall, nobody's going to look at it and think, oh, I really wish I'd spent that extra $1,000 to get the Canon or Nikon. Well, maybe they would if it was soft and mushy or didn't have any contrast, great contrast, or it had terrible vignetting or whatever. But it's not. It does perform really, really well. It's just technically slightly behind, but it will be just fine to use. I really enjoyed it, and if you have your heart set on a 1.4, then it's so much cheaper. I would definitely consider it. If you're not set on a 1.4, consider the 1.8s from Canon and Nikon. They're really great value, and optically they're just fantastic. And Sigma probably will release a new 85 in their new art series in the future. That's going to push it up over the $1,000 mark, no doubt. but the Art Series lenses have been getting a whole lot of press. If you haven't already, please jump over to mattgranger.com, check it out. The site has been relaunched, heaps of new content there, including the new collaboration video with Digital Rev. You can also see things like my book projects, private bodies, my video series, and all kinds of other exclusive content which only lives there. If you enjoyed this video, please click to like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Any questions, or if you want to share your experience with these lenses, leave them in the comments below. I'll see you soon.
That was all right. What's something a little bit racist, but not so much that I'll get in trouble? Honorable Japanese Genki desu. Is that an Asian accent? Does that sound Japanesey? For me, there's only two Japanese accents. There's like the really like indignant one, like "Nan desu ka?" And then like the businessman. I can't think of it. Doku ikimasu ka? Like that. Businessman slash mob boss. And then the Japanese girl are like, Nihongo genki desu. That's the porn one. Nothing? Okay, porn one. Is that on a little bit of an angle? Lean that way. Well, the wrong way. Yeah, we're leaving it out. Don't touch. It's harassment, sister. And she's like, she said, oh, too much clothes. No, I just like to eat. Oh, you must like it a lot. Bitch. Okay.